A volleyball team usually records an average of 3 blocks per set, so patience is required while waiting for a successful one. But when it happens, it's twice as satisfying. We've already talked about blocking in previous episodes. Today we'll shine a light on the mistakes.
We don't consider it a mistake when the attacker spikes around the block. It happens, and besides, there's still the backcourt defense waiting. What we mean here are imperfections, when the block doesn't hold the ball. When the spiker squeezes it between the block and the net into what's called the pocket, or when the blocker simply gets tooled. So, let's start from the beginning.
A solid block is not born from magic, but from firmness. Remember? From the earliest years, we've taught kids to keep their arms and torso held firmly together like for a photograph. Straight, steady, without giving way.
If that's not the case and the player can't keep their arms in position, small mishaps begin to happen. The block wobbles like a loose gate and the ball finds a gap. And it's not just about muscles, but concentration. Arms together, torso firm, head alert.
Getting tooled is another common mistake and often unavoidable. But a different matter is the so-called block pocket. That's not bad luck, it's a bad habit. The ball finds a pocket between the arms and the net, like slipping through poorly closed doors, and sneaks in. This can and must be prevented, and it starts from a young age, just like we teach other habits.
Let's continue listing blocking shortcomings, as we should. Not to complain, but to bring order to them.
A bad habit that grows out of faulty training or simple ignorance is when, during the jump to block, the player raises their arms straight upward instead of sweeping them forward over the net and reaching into the opponent's court. In other words, they shouldn't lift their arms above themselves but in front of themselves. Even Serbian national team player Dražen Luburić, who collaborates with our volleyball academy, had to fix this fault himself. Even a master is sometimes a student. In the example, you can clearly see the improvement he achieved thanks to targeted and consistent focus on this change. When everything is as it should be, it's a joy to watch. Exactly like Italy's Lavia does, arms forward from the start to the end of the action.
And now we slowly get to the core issue with blocking, completing the lateral move. This is where it's decided whether it will be a proper block or just a missed chance. Forming a double block or getting into position for a single block in time against the opponent's increasingly fast offense is no joke. One thing is to get to the blocking position quickly. Another, and harder, is to stop the sharp lateral movement. Turn. Align the shoulders parallel to the net. Bring the arms in front of the body. Jump and penetrate over the net.
Before we launch into harsh criticism of this key mistake, let's pause for a moment. Let's once again see what it looks like when it's done right. Quick move at the right moment, arms in front of the body, block closed like a solid door. This is the standard by which we'll measure the following lapses.
As with many other faults, for example in spiking or passing, most mistakes are born on the ground, in the footwork. Blocking is no different. The most typical? Incorrect completion of the lateral move The feet don't turn even partially perpendicular to the net, but remain parallel to the center line.
We can see this in the example from a practice of 14-year-olds. Even worse is the reversed footwork, when a player essentially confuses blocking movement with an approach for a spike. And the result? The player leaves the most crucial adjustment for the moment when there's no time left. Aligning the shoulders parallel to the net is done only in the air. That triggers an alarm. The body can't settle. And in the jump, it spins like a propeller. The eyes can't read the game. Instead of decisive calm, there's rush. This should be resolved on the ground. In the air, it's only confirming what was already prepared.
In the air, there should be no twisting. What needs to be aligned must be aligned on the ground. Here, it's better. But to be fair, there's not always much time for this adjustment. All of this is a call to go back to volleyball's elementary school. That's where all good and bad starts. Kids can learn correct footwork sequences at the earliest age. They don't even need to know its important blocking movement. It's enough if we quietly and consistently insert the needed steps into warm-ups and other locomotion drills. The goal is to automate the movement, to embed it in the body as something natural, so that one day, when it's real game time, it helps instead of hinders.
Once they've mastered the footwork, the next thing is knowing how to stop in time at the right distance from the net. This way, the player can thread their arms between themselves and the net and already be pushing them forward during the jump. The result? As soon as the hands get above the net, they're over the opponent's court from the very first moment of the blocking action. That's our goal. And of course, we apply the same in double block training.
Players aged 14 to 15 are then ready to develop so-called tactical blocking. That is timing, choosing the correct takeoff spot relative to the opponent's attacker, and judging the direction of the spiked ball. But that would be a topic for another episode. At the beginning of this episode, we enjoyed watching blocking performed by masters. It's good to know the target, the goal, and then, through mistakes and small imperfections, we step by step made our way back to correct blocking, the kind we'd like to see from 15-year-olds.